Hey guys, PIEGUYRULZ here, and I returned to Twitter from a 4-day Danganronpa marathon to discover that there's been some pretty big news in the Nickelodeon world. The Rugrats are getting not one, but two spin-off projects, because apparently the Rugrats wants to go toe-to-toe with Ben 10 for how many different versions of the same franchise can exist. Um, so let's just get right into this here. This was retweeted by Nickelodeon itself. So this is a thing that's happening, or this is a thing that is officially announced at least. I'll get on to that in a second, but let's just read a little bit here. Nickelodeon and Paramount Pictures announced today a relaunch of the kids' entertainment franchise, Rugrats. A new animated series revival featuring the characters from the 90s cartoon received has re- oh, a new animated series has received the 26 episode order from Nickelodeon and Paramount Players. The new film division, launched to develop projects based on properties from Viacom cable channels, has given green light to a new live action film featuring, oh god, CGI characters. Both the TV series and the movie will include new adventures with beloved characters Tommy, Chucky, Phil, Lil, Susie, and Angelica, and will also introduce a new world of characters. Um, you're kind of missing some characters here, but I mean, I don't know. I guess it'd be very odd if these characters were here and Dylan and Kimmy weren't. I mean, I know they weren't the most beloved characters, but they're still a part of the franchise, and I mean, I guess unless it's like a reboot, like they're rebooting the whole thing so that it takes place in modern day, which I guess is very possible. I mean, I guess that's kind of what they have to do. It's not like they can have the characters age up, right? Um, the show's original creators, Klasky and Cupo, and Paul Germain, will return to the TV series as executive producers. Nickelodeon's Rugrats will be produced in Burbank, California, with production already underway. Additional news of the TV series' air date and casting will be announced in the coming months. Rugrats is hands down one of the most celebrated cartoons in TV history. We're thrilled for a whole new audience to meet these iconic characters in brand new adventures. COO, Viacom. What was true in 1991 when the original show premiered is still true today. Kids are fascinated with the world of babies. I, I mean, that's an odd statement, but sure. We can't wait for today's kids to meet Tommy, Chucky, and pals. The Rugrats movie will be written by David Goodman and is set to release on November 13th, 2020 by Paramount Players, the division of Paramount Pictures that develops blah, 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 blah. Now feels like the ideal time to reintroduce this iconic cast of characters to a whole new generation of young fans, says Brian Robbins, president of Paramount Players. Try saying that 5 times fast. Kids who grew up with Tommy Pickles and the Rugrats crew will now be able to share that experience with their own children. Rugrats joins the recently announced return of Blue's Clues, blah, 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 Rocco, and Vader Zim. Okay, so, I mean, it is fitting that Rugrats is the first actual, like, reboot series to come out of this whole, like, Nickelodeon cashing in on their 90s shows, because thus far we've gotten announcements of TV movies, and discussion of Rugrats was it was there. It's always been there. It's kind of been a big question. Rugrats was the franchise for Nickelodeon, until SpongeBob came and knocked it off its pedestal. And yeah. How do I feel about this? Let's talk about the movie first because I think that is a terrible, terrible, terrible idea. I don't think this movie will actually happen. That's just kind of I'm just putting it out there. I think that this is one of those things that's going to be great for an announcement, but I think maybe when they get into the nitty gritty of it, I don't know how they're going to design these characters to look good in CG. I'm getting horrible flashbacks to like N64 graphics of these characters. I know CG has progressed a lot since then, but just yeah, the characters, a part of what makes them iconic or them is their potato headedness, and I can't see it translating well into CG and then blending with live action. I mean, like, ugh, this is such an annoying trend. You know, the Alvin and the Chipmunks movie, the Smurfs movies, the Transformers movies, and at least with all three of those franchises, it's not trying to take a human and CGIing them. Like Alvin and the Chipmunks themselves being CG, it looks weird in the human world, but they're supposed to be characters that are weird. They're not supposed to blend in too much. Um, but the Rugrats are supposed to be actually human. So how are they going to pull this off? Is it going to be like Baby Geniuses where it's just like unsettling the entire time? Are they going to try to make the characters look like these character designs and it's just going to be nightmare fuel? I don't know. I don't see a way for that to happen. I don't understand why they would do it like this. I mean, if they're going to do CG, then just do all of it CG. Especially because the TV show certainly isn't going to be CG, presumably, right? Nothing in here indicates that it will be. I really hope. I really hope not. I feel like they would have mentioned that maybe. I mean, I get why they're doing it because the trend works. The Chipmunks movies were pretty successful. The Smurfs movies were decently successful. The Transformers movies, are they still making those? They might still be making those. I don't even know. Um, it's a formula that a lot of people don't like, but it's one that does tend to make money. I guess it makes sense too because budget wise, that's cheaper than doing it all CG, probably. Um, mm. But yeah, I don't like that idea. I don't think it makes sense, especially to announce it alongside a series. I would rather see how a reboot series holds up and then launch into that. And my prediction is this reboot series probably won't do very well, or it might do gangbusters, but I still think that either way, the movie is probably not going to actually happen. That's just my guess, though. It's entirely possible it will. Um, the TV series, how will it do? Well, here's the thing. We live in an age of reboots doing incredibly well. If you look at the Roseanne reboots numbers, they were off the charts. Granted, not every reboot gets this. If you look at another very popular animated series' reboot, the Powerpuff Girls, that did not do very well, critically or even just in views in general. And that's the thing. It's like it's tough to say because I mean Roseanne didn't exactly last long enough for us to really notice, but if you're announcing 26 episodes, like I bet you the first episode or the first few episodes will probably get a ton of views just because Rugrats was popular, it is nostalgic, and they are right that a lot of people that watched this show originally do have kids now. And Double Dare is another classic Nick show that is back and it's doing pretty well. It's one of the top rated shows on the network right now. Um, so I do think that it will do well in the beginning. Will it hold? It depends on the quality of it, and I don't think it'll be very good. I've seen how Rugrats was in the later seasons of the show, and it just kind of became like a husk of what it was. It kind of became a self parody. It's like it seemed like the show was more intelligent in the earlier seasons, and I mean I haven't seen the show in a while, but I have seen it since becoming an adult. And although I think it's like seasons 2 through 3, 2 through 4, basically before it got initially canceled. But after season one's weirdness, it was a really good show. It had a lot going for it, but at a certain point, it really kind of dropped off. I think, and so the other thing is that Klasky and Chupo haven't really been working on anything in like 8 years. Like they really haven't done a whole lot. And while they did a lot of shows on Nickelodeon, and Rugrats was one of them, and the other shows were at least decently successful. Um, your Rocket Powers, as told by Gingers, etc's, Wild Thornberries is. I don't know. I don't know what they're capable of. I don't want to be pessimistic. I've seen creators that haven't been with shows for a while come back and just kind of assume they know it all because they created the show. They made the show great in the first place. And I just the magic isn't always there. To add to that, I mean, a few of the voice actors of the original show have passed away. And it says they're gonna announce a cast, so it is most likely going to go down the Powerpuff Girls reboots angle of recasting the whole thing, which they might do, maybe they won't. I mean, uh I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. The only thought I had, and maybe there's something in here that contradicts this, but from what I'm seeing, it looks just vague enough that it's entirely possible this, and I keep calling it a reboot. It's could be a continuation, it could be whatever, but I do think that most likely, or not most likely, but a possibility is that the Rugrats are going to be adults and the show will be about their kids. That would make some sense because the people that are going to be nostalgic for these characters specifically are going to be the adults more than the kids these days. Oh God, I just said that, but more than the kids of the present. Um, and so maybe that's the angle they go with it. I don't really know. I don't know, man. I don't know. I just know that Rugrats as a franchise was milked to death. I mean, like some of its last spin-offs, like the Tales from the Crib and Angelica and Susie's preschool days, barely got off the ground. And I mean, granted, this was like 16 years ago, so I don't know. I do think that the property is it could have the potential because it was a very successful show in its original place, but I just don't know. I think announcing a 26 episode series and a movie is a bit too much. I think that they should have started with a TV movie like next year or this year and then kind of gone off of approval of that. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not entirely like pessimistic on this, although I didn't want this. Like I don't really want this. I feel like with every new like iteration of reboot or new version of something that comes out, I'm just kind of sitting here like, why? Why bother? There's so many stories that could get an ending and should get an ending and should be brought back, or not necessarily should be, but could be brought back and it still be feasible. But Rugrats, I feel like Rugrats has told all the stories that Rugrats really wants to tell. And I mean, to the show's credit, there isn't really any other show like it from this very specific perspective. There's been tons of shows from the perspective of kids, but yeah, very few TV shows from the perspective of literal babies. Um, I wonder how it'll translate is kind of what I'm thinking, because the sound effects, the designs, the animation style, so much of it was stuck in the 90s. Even when the show went into the 2000s, it still felt like that. I mean, to put it into perspective, when the show did All Grown Up, the babies on that show looked like actual babies. They changed the design because it just wasn't like a popular design anymore, or they wanted to be sleeker or whatever. How's all the like bubba sound effects gonna play out in current day, or are they gonna ditch them altogether? If they ditch them, is it still gonna even be Rugrats? There's just kind of so many questions and so many unknowns with this. Like if they had announced, dude, I don't know, My Life as a Teenage Robot is coming back. I mean, sure, I'd be skeptical of it, but I'd be like, okay, yeah, that's a show that didn't necessarily get a ton of seasons, and if the creator behind it was still passionate about it, then great. That's a show that I could be more optimistic about, even though it wasn't anywhere near as popular as Rugrats. But Rugrats, I just feel has been milked dry, and I don't know how it'll translate to a current audience. I don't know how it'll translate. Just a lot of the stylistic decisions of the show. Is it going to be a watered down version of the original? Not like toned down from like mature themes or anything like that. I just mean, is it going to lack a lot of the stylistic touches that made the original so interesting in the first place? And if it keeps those, is it even going to still be good? It's just, I don't know. There's just a lot of unknowns. The movie I'm 100% not for. But the TV show, it has some possibility. It has some possibility of being a success, regardless of critically how it gets received. I think that it definitely will be a big ratings boost, at least when it initially airs for the network. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Oh, this was quite the bombshell. And with that, Pie Guy Rules out.